Hello everyone, my name is Gaunaya and I'm from JEST Research Center for Entertainment Science. It's my pleasure to share my research here, and my research topic is analysis of professional basketball league via motion in mind. As we can see from this slide, this is the content for today's presentation. We can see that the first part I will introduce NBA and GR theory, analyze NBA rules change this decade from overall game side. And besides overall game side, I will analyze a dynamic game process. And the second part, I will focus on game side. And the third part, I will focus on player side. And after the analysis from overall game side and the dynamic game process from game side and the player side, we are going to get our conclusion. In this slide, I will introduce NBA. And as we all know, the National Basketball Association, NBA, is the most representative basketball league, and the NBA is the most classical and popular basketball competition. Basketball rules continually improved to help basketball be more popular and acceptable for both audience and players. And for the rules, I will just show the time here. And each NBA regular game has 4 sections and 12 minutes for each section. And as we all know, for every successful attempt, and there are 3 possible scores, and maybe 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points. But 1 point and 3 points are not that common. The 2 points goal are really normal in our daily life. In this slide, I will introduce the concept of GR theory. And the GR theory is a measure of games entertainment, attractiveness, and sophistication. Such a theory involved based on physics analogy by establishing velocity and mass as success rate and difficulty in games. Here, the difficulty means the risk rate or losing rate, respectively, via zero-sum assumption. According to the GR theory, it is assumed that every game's progress was encoded and transported in our minds when we use these strategies. Although the behavior of the physics of information in the brain is unknown, the acceleration of information progress is likely subject to Newton's classical mechanics such as physics force and so on. So we use the acceleration of information progress to measure the attractiveness in our brain with respect to F equals ma. And also we use these formulas to describe different motions in the mind when we play any games. Here, G means total goals and T means total attempts for NBA games. We can see the velocity of NBA games is equals G over T. Is total goals over total attempts. So that's the winning rate or the successful winning rate. So after we have the velocity, so we will have the corresponding acceleration and the jerk. And as the previous research, we know GR equals square root of acceleration and AD value equals cube square of jerk. And P1 equals mv and the potential energy equals 2mv squared. And P2 is the distance between potential energy and momentum in mind. So also we have F equals ma, and the figure shows that the corresponding link between physics and the game and physical psychological and when the research about a sophisticated board game will have the corresponding reasonable zone for GR value and AD value, and GR value is located in 0.07 to 0.08, and AD value located in 0.045 to 0.06. And after the introduction of NBA and the GR theory, we are going to the part of analysis of NBA games from the overall game side. And this, according to the data I collect, and we can see the GR value and the AD value both approaching to the most reasonable zone, which came from the sophisticated board game. It means that the rules is becoming more and more reasonable and sophisticated, the more advanced. This is the reason that the basketball is being more and more popular after this decade, because NBA rules changed to be more and more reasonable for us. We will feel more and more comfortable and enjoyable. And also, after the GR value and AD value, we are going to the motions, other motions, and we can see the momentum of game's motion P1 is always located in 1/4. We can see that the constantly concentration P1, because we use the tendency of continue to play the game P1 to measure the concentration players focus on the game. So the constantly concentration P1 can explain the reason that NBA can be popular these decades, because the concentration of basketball is always keeps located in the most reasonable zone, and also potential energy is getting higher to approach to 1/4. Players' expectation is also becoming more and more stable and reasonable. And we can see the momentum of man's motion P2. P2 is the gap between P1 and EP, so also the gap between concentration and expectation. So if P2 is located is more and more approach to 0, it means that our concentration and expectation got a balance, so we will feel better. If our concentration over than expectation, so it means that we too focus on the game, but we cannot get the reasonable and suitable expectation. Otherwise, our expectation will higher than our concentration. We need to pay more attention to the concentration or to the game. And we can see the force. After the rules changed, the force amount of NBA is getting close to a reasonable zone 0.003 for basketball. The reasonable force value can make players feel more exciting and attractive, can attract players in a reasonable way. We use the force to measure the attractiveness between player and the game. So that's the adhesion, the sticky degree of player and the game. After the analysis of NBA games from overall game side, we are going to analyze NBA games using a dynamic process from game side. Based on the rank of Bucks and Knicks in NBA league, and we know Bucks is a little bit stronger than Knicks, so we can see the velocity of stronger team is higher than weaker teams. It means that the winning rate of stronger team is higher than weaker team. Now also, as the game progresses, our accuracy decreases. Our adhesion between players and the game decreased to 0.003. Even at the end of the process, the force of two teams is same, but the adhesion between games with a strong team is higher than the weak team during the game process. We can see the red line is much larger than the green line. And also, we can know that the weak team needs to spend a longer time to reach the reasonable P1, and the strong team's EP is higher than weak's. It has higher expectation for stronger team. And the stronger team's P2 is more approach to 0. It means that exploration and the concentration is more balanced than weak's. And after analysis of NBA games use a dynamic process from game side, we are going to discuss how motions in mind changed from player side. And also we can know V2 came from P2. So P2 is the distance between concentration and expectation. So I assumed that V2 is the speed of getting the subjective advantage. If P2 is higher than 0, it means that player locate in advantage side. Otherwise, player locate in disadvantage side. If V2 is approach to 0, it means that the ability and the challenger can match. So there is no advantage or disadvantage. And from the figure, we can know the V2 of strong team is higher than the weak's. So it means that the strong teams is risk rate is less than 0.5. Player locate in advantage side. Stronger team's winning rate is a little bit higher than weak team. And also from the force and momentum, we can see that the absolute value of force of the strong team is higher than the weak team. The force of strong team side is approached to 0.5 at the end of the process. And also the momentum of strong team side is higher than the weak's. And the momentum of strong teams is approached to 0 at the end of the process. Now we are going to get our conclusion. For the first part, from overall game side, we know that the GR value and AD value getting closer and closer to the reasonable zone. It means that the game is becoming more and more advanced and reasonable. And also, from overall game side, we discuss the physics in mind. So we know that the velocity and mass both approach to 1/2, and momentum P1 approach to 1/4, and the rules of NBA keeps the game is fair and fair after this decade. The force of NBA is located around 0.003. After the overall game side, where we analyze one game process dynamically by discussing the two teams. So we know that the velocity and the force and the momentum of strong team are all higher than weak team. So it means that the winning rates and the force and expectation are both higher than weak team. And from player side, we know that the strong team is more located in the advantage side, and also the absolute value of the force of strong team is higher than weak team. Also, the momentum of strong teams is higher than weak team, and the momentum of strong team is approached to 0 at the end of the process. Yeah, that's all for my presentation. Thanks for your timing, and any comments and suggestions are welcome.